The Nintendo GameCube. What an awesome little machine this thing is. I remember when it was coming out, obviously it came after the kind of failure that was the N64. Nintendo was trying to kind of take a step in the right direction with this new cube-looking like lunchbox that nobody really knew like what they were doing with this thing. Nintendo was still competing in the hardware races, the tech wars, whatever you want to call it. So they still made like a powerful machine. The GameCube was basically like second just behind Microsoft, the newcomer in the console wars. And it was more powerful than the PlayStation 2. So Nintendo was hoping they'd get third-party support. They were hoping that, you know, hardcore gamers would start flocking to the system. And I remember back in the day, like the ad campaigns for the GameCube were really like strange and weird. And it felt like they were marketed towards a more adult audience, even though Nintendo was kind of still seen as this company for kids and stuff like that. So, you know, they definitely took a chance, and ultimately, as we know, the GameCube was not a huge success. It was basically, I think it sold around the same as the N64, if not less. So while the system wasn't the biggest success at the time, the GameCube has gone on to become like one of the biggest fan favorite consoles out there. And back in the day, I was so excited for the GameCube. I didn't get an N64 until really, really late. The GameCube actually might have been out by the time I got an N64, but I wanted a GameCube so bad. And I started like scrounging up pennies for it, started to really, really save up. And I don't think I actually paid for the thing. I think in my mind, I thought I had enough money, but my parents were nice enough to get me the system. And over time, you know, I've amassed a pretty decent collection of games for the thing. Tons of awesome Nintendo, first-party Nintendo games on this thing. So I'm excited to go back and kind of like take a look at my collection and kind of reminisce about some of these amazing games that were on the GameCube. Like, there were obviously like some lapses. The PS2 was just incredible. There were so many games on that thing, but the GameCube held its own with those first-party titles. And you know what? Let's just get started and start going through my collection. I think I have like over 100 games on the thing, so should be fun. Should take a little bit, but let's get started. So the first game we got here is 007 Agent Under Fire. I remember like the 007 games being really, really big back then. I feel like there were games coming out like every year, every couple of years in the James Bond franchise, because they were trying to capture that magic of GoldenEye on the N64 all over again. And I don't know if they did that exactly, but these James Bond games on the GameCube and PS2 and Xbox, they were really, really fun actually, and especially the multiplayer modes. I remember playing with my friends a ton. So these were really fun games to play if you had, you know, a group of friends around to kind of play around with you. And on that note, I do also have 007 Nightfire, which I think Nightfire may be the one that more people kind of like, they kind of like went towards this game. I don't actually remember too much, but I think I remember the single player modes also being all right. It's been a while since I played these games, but I remember them being pretty solid for James Bond titles. Next, we got 1080 Avalanche here. This is really interesting because obviously 1080 started on the N64, and this was the sequel to that 1080 snowboarding game, and it was also the last game in this franchise. This one I have not played too much of, to be honest, but from what I've heard, it's pretty solid and it's really interesting. It says it's got music from Cauterize. I don't know who Cauterize is. I don't remember if they were popular back then, but kind of funny to see that. And, you know, I would love to see kind of Nintendo go back to making some of these like weird extreme sports games like 1080 and Wave Race. We'll talk about Wave Race a little bit later, but yeah, 1080 Avalanche here. I need to play it. Amazing Island. Yeah, this is one of those weird GameCube exclusive games that not many people talk about these days. It's kind of like a creature collecting game with mini games and stuff like that. On the back here, that's right, Game Informer had a quote think of it as Pokemon meets Mario Party. What could be a better combo than that? I don't think this game was actually very well received, and I don't remember loving it. It's got some charm, and Sega put it out there, so it's an interesting title, and like I said, an exclusive for the system, but not one that I would go out of my way to pick up. I would go out of my way, though, to pick up Animal Crossing, population growing. I adore this game. I just love Animal Crossing so much. I don't remember why I picked this game up when I did back in the early 2000s when I had a GameCube, because at the time, like, this wouldn't seem like a game for me. I wasn't like into the Sims or into like any sort of like sim type game, but something about Animal Crossing really like pulled me in, and I'm so glad I gave it a shot, because Animal Crossing is now one of my favorite franchises of all time. Just the characters are so fun. I love also the low poly look of the characters in this game. Obviously, if you know, Animal Crossing initially came out on the N64. We didn't get it here in America, but this version of the game is basically just that version from the N64 with some enhancements. So that's why a lot of the characters still look super polygonal, like they look blocky and everything. But I love that. I think that gives the game so much charm. And I love how there's so much variety in the villager types in this game. So like grumpy characters can actually be super mean, which I love. I think that's like real life. Like grumpy people in real life are going to be mean to you, you know? So I do miss that kind of aspect of this game. Obviously they've made quality of life changes in some of the newer titles, but this version, there's still a lot of merit to going back to this one, and I love this game so much. So also really cool that it came with a memory card, because this thing took up an entire memory card worth of data. So it was nice that they added that in there. Really love Animal Crossing, and the original is so good. Here we have Baten Kaitos, Eternal Wings, and the Lost Ocean. This is a really interesting game that I want to try out, and it actually recently has gotten an updated port on the Switch, and I think it's only the Switch. I'm not sure if it came out on other platforms, but what I do know about this game is that it has absolutely beautiful pre-rendered backgrounds. I wish more games today would do pre-rendered backgrounds, because I think it would look amazing. Just incredible graphical style, and this is one of those games that I would love to play. I need to try out. It's like a card-based RPG as well. But yeah, we got that. And we have Baten Kaitos Origins, another game that I haven't played, but again, this one's also available on the Switch now in the combo pack of Baten Kaitos 1 and 2. So really cool GameCube titles, also exclusives, but ones that I haven't played. Battalion Wars. This is such a weird game to kind of look back on, because this was originally named an Advance Wars title, so it's technically a spin-off of Advance Wars, and even I think in Japan it even still has the Famicom Wars name, which is cool. But yeah, no, initially this was called Advance Wars, and they switched it up to Battalion Wars because I guess it wasn't on the Game Boy Advance anymore, and it was a completely different type of game, because it is now like a third-person kind of action game with strategy elements still. It still kind of has that strategy thing going on with it, but it's not turn-based anymore. It's not grid-based, it's not turn-based. You've still got some strategy elements, but it is more of an action game. So it was kind of cool to see them try to adapt Advance Wars into a new type of game, and they did have Battalion Wars 2 on the Wii as well. They released that one. So cool game, another exclusive for the GameCube, and you know, one that is fun, and I would definitely recommend checking out. Beach Spikers. This is a volleyball sports game. You don't see too many volleyball games out there other than like DOA Extreme Beach Volleyball. But you know, this is a little more tame than DOA. It's still trying to advertise itself as being hot, and you know, the ladies are front and center there. But it's a pretty good game of volleyball. You know, it's developed by Sega AM2 here, and AM2 does good stuff. It's definitely not a bad game, Not anything special though. It's a cool exclusive to have on the system. Another Sega game here in Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg. This is also another exclusive for the GameCube, and that's something that you'll kind of notice with a lot of GameCube games that I have, is that a lot of them are exclusives, because there were a lot of really cool, unique exclusive games on the GameCube, and this is one of them. This is like a kind of a 3D platformer where you have to roll around an egg and kind of use that to attack and get around. It's really weird and wacky, and I love it because of that. Also developed by Sonic Team. Kind of weird that it's a console exclusive, but it also did come out on PC, I believe. So that's like a weird little quirk of this game. But I like this game a lot. It's got some problems. It's not perfect, but I would love to see Billy Hatcher come back one day. I don't think he will, but this is such a really unique game, and that title theme will get stuck in your head if you play this game. This is kind of a weird one. This is Blowout. I don't know much about this game other than I kind of looked online, and they said there was kind of like a Metroidvania, and it is like a 2D side-scrolling game. So maybe it's good. I don't know. I haven't heard too much about it, and I'd like to give it a shot at some point, but this is just like a weird game. I feel like nobody knows about this one. Next up, we got a couple of Bomberman games. This is Bomberman Generation, again, an exclusive for the GameCube. For these Bomberman games on the GameCube, I feel like they decided to kind of make more of adventure-style games, similar to kind of Bomberman on the N64 as well. You've still got the classic Bomberman multiplayer stuff going on here, but you've also got like an adventure-style thing like I was talking about. And these are cool. This one actually has like a really cool cel-shaded art style. I'm not sure if these were based on a show. I think Bomberman Generation was just its own thing. But the next game here in Bomberman Jetters, I think they made into a show, or it was a show beforehand. I don't really know. This one I don't know too much about. It looks like it also is more of an adventure-style Bomberman game with the multiplayer stuff as well. I feel like you can't have a Bomberman game without that. But yeah, no, I like that they went in a kind of a different direction with these games, and I've heard good things. So yeah, Bomberman Jetters and Bomberman Generation, two cool GameCube Bomberman exclusives. This is Cell Damage, a really cool car combat multiplayer game. This one came out on modern consoles as well. They kind of re-released this one. But yeah, Cell Damage, kind of cool take on the name because the game is cell shaded. So very cartoony look, very animated, very, very cool stuff. Cell Damage is pretty fun. I really liked it back in the day. Never played the like updated version, but it's fun. I like it. Here's Chaos Field, one of the very few shoot 'em up games on the GameCube. Also an exclusive, but yeah, it's a tough game. I'm really bad at shoot 'em ups, so I wasn't able to get too far in this one, but if you like them, I feel like this is a decent one. I can't give you too much detail because obviously I couldn't get very far, but from what I did play, it seemed pretty cool. This is not a super common game. I don't see this one too often, but yeah, pick it up if you like shoot 'em ups. We are coming up on a couple of banger titles here. First up being Chibi Robo Plug Into Adventure. I love Chibi Robo. So happy I picked this up. There's a few games in this collection that I picked up kind of when GameStop was getting rid of GameCube stock and things like that, right when they were just kind of phasing out that stuff. So I picked this up at a GameStop for $35. I think something like that, $30 or $35, maybe even $25. But I'm so happy I did because obviously now this is like a $200 game. And you know what? It might be worth $200. I'm not even kidding. Chibi Robo is that good, especially the GameCube version here. It's just got so much charm, and if you know me, you know I love games like Moon RPG and Chulip and Captain Rainbow, things like that. I've talked about Captain Rainbow in multiple videos, Gift Pia. So this game is built from the same cloth. It has a very similar kind of gameplay loop where you have to kind of get heart points and things like that. But yeah, just Chibi Robo as a character is so amazing. I love him. I love him so much. I wish Chibi Robo got more love than he has gotten. Like, he deserves better. The games that came out after this one, they were good. They were not bad, but it really wasn't the same. There is a DS game that never came out in the States that really kind of, I feel like, captures the same sort of feel as this original Chibi Robo, but we obviously, like I said, never got it, so the people in the West didn't get to play that one. If you have any way of playing Chibi Robo, please do. It's, like I said, so charming. The characters are amazing. The gameplay is fun. I am just a huge fan of Chibi Robo. And like I said, another really awesome pickup here that I had, Cubivore Survival of the Fittest. I think this is my most expensive GameCube game. And once again, I found this at the same exact GameStop that I found that Chibi Robo at, and this was also in that $25, $30 price range. I can't remember exactly, but really happy I picked this one up. And the quote on the box is very true. One of the most bizarre video games ever created. So you play as these Cubivore creatures. You're trying to survive out in the world by eating these other Cubivore characters. I forgot exactly what they call them, but as it says, eat or be eaten. So yeah, you make your way around, eat other characters, kind of grow and become stronger, and then as you move on, you will create Cubivore babies, like you'll find a mate and you'll continue on. You'll continue your lineage as you move forward, and it's just so weird, so cool. This was developed by Intelligent Systems, and it was actually published by Nintendo in Japan, but I guess Nintendo thought it wasn't going to do well here, which I could understand, so Atlas picked it up and published it over in the States. So very happy they did, very happy to own this. I love Cubivore. And then we got Custom Robo here, man. Like, I'm serious. Nintendo put out like everything on the GameCube, it feels like. They really reached into their bag, and like, Custom Robo was never a thing in the US. Like, I think it was popular in Japan. I know they got a GBA version that we never got, but they really tried to make this a thing here. I don't think it was super popular, sadly, but still, like, the fact that Nintendo gave it a shot, I really appreciate. And it just sucks that we haven't seen it since the DS, Custom Robo Arena. Yeah, this is like a really cool arena fighting style game where you create your own Robo Warriors and whatever with weapons and things like that, armor. Really interesting game, and it's super unique on the GameCube. Not too much else like it, so really would recommend checking this out if you like that kind of like arena battling game. Here we have Dance Dance Revolution Mario Mix. Crazy to kind of think that this happened. Obviously, Dance Dance Revolution at the time was huge. I was super into it. I actually picked up my PS2 because of Dance Dance Revolution, because I saw they were getting home console versions of Dance Dance Revolution. And this Mario version I had to pick up, obviously. It's got a ridiculous story with Bowser and whatnot. It is actually a little bit easier than some of the Dance Dance Revolution games on the PS2 or in the arcades, and I feel like they did that for a reason, because I guess Nintendo is, like I mentioned at the beginning, it was viewed as more of a kids company back then, and it's still challenging, and it's got some great music, but it was a little bit easier than some of those PS2 and arcade games. So another exclusive here. This is Disney's Magical Mirror starring Mickey Mouse. I remember this one being like kind of a big deal. Nintendo kept showing it off early on in the GameCube days. Like they really made it a point to show this off in a lot of sizzle reels and things like that, even before the GameCube came out. Capcom developed this, which is weird. And what's weirder is that I feel like this wasn't a very good game. I haven't actually played it myself, but I remember the response being very low, like the review scores being pretty low. So yeah, it's really strange that Nintendo went out of their way to advertise this so much, but maybe it's just because of Mickey Mouse, and obviously Mickey Mouse has a very big appeal to many folks. So, you know, that's that. What also is appealing to me is Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. Get it? Because of bananas and whatever. Donkey Kong Jungle Beat is an incredible game. This was developed by the same team that went on to create the Super Mario Galaxy games on the Wii, and it shows. This is such a good 2D platformer, and the fact that you play it with bongos is even crazier. Yes, this game came bundled with the bongo controllers. Like you could buy it separately, obviously, if you already had the bongos, but it also did come bundled with them, and it is just so unique, so fun. You go around, you move right by tapping the right side of the bongo, and you go left by tapping the left side. You jump by tapping both of them at the same time, and you have like this clap attack. You clap to kind of grab onto bananas and other things like that. It is such a good game, and I highly recommend trying it if you haven't. There is also a new play control version of this on the Wii that I think is not as fun because it really was made with the bongos in mind. But yeah, any way you play it, I would recommend still. Really, really great game. And then we got Donkey Konga. This was made by the people that made the Taiko no Tatsujin games, I believe. Taiko Drum Master, and that also shows very much. The only problem with these games is that I feel like the track list is really weird. There's a lot of like pop songs and things like that I wouldn't expect in a Donkey Kong music rhythm game, but it is very fun. And I also have Donkey Konga 2. Both games are great. I feel like this one has more of that kind of like pop soundtrack, just a bunch of stuff that I wouldn't expect. What does it say here? Yeah, pop, hip hop, R&B, over 25 new hits. Kind of weird, but I still like the Donkey Konga games a lot, and we'll talk more about these a little bit later. Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem. What a strange and unique game. Like, again, Nintendo was trying to kind of bring in more of a mature audience on the GameCube. They have their like games that are made for everyone with Mario and things like that, but they really, really tried. And Eternal Darkness originally, if you didn't know, was being developed for the Nintendo 64, and that ended up not happening, obviously, and they moved development over to the GameCube. But this game is known for having just really, really strange sanity effects and things like that. So there's this sanity meter as you play the game, and if your sanity drops really low, it'll do crazy, strange things to the TV. Like it'll basically bring up like a bar, and it'll make the volume go down. And that like volume bar is very dated now, but back in the day, like every TV had the same volume bar, so it actually felt like the volume was going down on your TV without you doing anything. And it was really strange, and it would do other things like act like it's going to delete your save file. And such another unique and really, really cool game on the GameCube. Just very, very cool, and something we haven't like really seen since then. I feel like there have been games that have tried doing the sanity type thing, but never to the same effect as this game. I would love to see Nintendo go back and bring back Eternal Darkness as a franchise. They don't do too many horror games these days, but it would be cool to see this come back. Evolution Worlds. This is kind of a weird one. It's a pretty basic like RPG, but I remember playing it with my friend a ton back in the day. He actually picked it up first, and I think he had the Dreamcast games, which is what this is based off of. This is actually both Evolution 1 and 2. They were two separate games on the Dreamcast, but they combined them into one game here on the GameCube. But yeah, like I said, it is very much just a very classic turn-based RPG. Nothing crazy special about it, but I have a lot of nostalgia for this game, and I haven't gone back to it in a long time, but I would like to go back and kind of see how it holds up. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles here. This is unique because this came out around the time where Nintendo was really trying to implement this Game Boy Advance to GameCube connectivity thing. And this game was a huge deal for that specific kind of functionality, because you could play with up to 4 people with 4 Game Boy Advances, and it was a Final Fantasy game. Like, Nintendo hadn't had a Final Fantasy game on their system since the Super Nintendo, if I'm not mistaken. You could count, I'm talking about consoles here. Obviously, they had stuff on the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance and things like that, but to have a console Final Fantasy game was pretty big. Obviously, this wasn't a mainline Final Fantasy game, but it was still cool to get one again after such a long time. And I've still never had the chance to play the Crystal Chronicles. I would really love to try it out. I know they came out with a version on like more modern consoles like the Switch, but from what I remember, people said that was not well done. So it would be fun to go back to like this GameCube version and play it how it was originally intended. And we got banger after banger here, like Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. I just recently beat this game, like probably last year, as well as Radiant Dawn on the Wii, which is a direct sequel to this game. But wow, this and Path and Radiant Dawn are probably my favorite Fire Emblem games that I've played. I haven't played them all, but these are just incredible games. There's a reason this holds such a high price tag. Partially because Fire Emblem wasn't very popular back then, but also because it is truly an amazing game. It tackles themes that Nintendo games don't normally tackle, like race and like political things like that. The story is so well done. The gameplay is so nicely balanced. Like, I feel like the difficulty, even though the hard mode in this game is the normal mode in Japan, I feel like that hard mode has like a really well balanced system. And obviously this does have that permadeath thing that Fire Emblem has. Nowadays you can choose to play that way, but you don't have to. But back then you had to play that way with the permadeath. So many amazing characters, such a great story. Path of Radiance, if you like Fire Emblem and you haven't played this one, just go out and play it somehow. Don't have to pay $250, use an emulator, whatever you want, play this game. F-Zero GX, another incredible game. This is why people love the GameCube so much, guys. Like, there are just so many great games and some of the best games in their respective franchises, and F-Zero GX is the best game in the franchise. I'm just gonna say it. Like, I feel like that's not a crazy thing to say. It is so fast. There are so many kind of opponents that you're going against. 30 pilots, 20 courses. And yeah, no, this is just one of the best racing games ever made. It is damn hard, super hard. But once you get into it and kind of figure things out, figure out the controls, it controls amazing, by the way. Like, just the amount of feel that you have, like just using that analog stick on the GameCube. The GameCube analog stick is perfect for this game. So good. And it's got like the wackiest cutscenes in the world, which I love. I love weird, wacky stuff. And this game has that too. F-Zero GX is amazing. I remember I had it and I sold it at an FYE for $7. Just an idiotic thing to do. Glad I picked it up again. Glad I have it now. It's amazing. Another one of these games I was talking about where Nintendo was really trying to go after the mature audience. This is Geist. This was developed by N-Space, I think. I forgot what else N-Space has worked on or made at the time. But yeah, no, this was kind of a pretty dang unique shooter on the system. It was a first-person shooter where you could possess other humans and other beings, other items, even like just non-sentient items within the world. I think I remember you could like possess a mop bucket or something like that. It was super weird. I remember playing it and thinking like, okay, there's definitely some jank here, but once again, very unique, very cool concept. And again, something that we haven't seen really much of since. Like, we haven't seen this concept in another game that I know of since. I'm sure there's something, but Really cool game. Another exclusive, like I was talking about. Here is Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee. It says it's only for GameCube. I don't know if this was actually an exclusive or if it came out on other systems at some point. It may have been like a timed exclusive, but this is a Godzilla-based fighting game, and I didn't play it for the first time until just like a couple of years ago, and it's pretty fun. I like it. I've never been like the biggest Godzilla fan. Like, I love Godzilla and I love all of the other kaiju monsters. I feel like kaiju just means monster, so I just said kaiju or monster. Anyway, I just don't know a lot about the characters, but I do love their designs, and I think this game is actually pretty damn fun. Like, it's very, very chaotic, which I like. You can throw buildings around. Really, really interesting like fighting game for the GameCube, and if it is exclusive, again, another exclusive. A couple games that I haven't played yet, but I really want to. Here's Harvest Moon: Another Wonderful Life. So this was originally released as Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life, and that was where you play it as a boy. But this version is another Wonderful Life, and you play as a girl. So really weird that they did that. Released two different versions for boys and girls, I guess. But from what I've heard, these Harvest Moon games are pretty cool. And to go along with that, I do have Harvest Moon Magical Melody. Another one that I haven't played, but this just seems super cute. I have to play these Harvest Moon games at some point. This one does have both boy and girl in this version that you can select. But what's really, really funny as in bad, they re-released this game on the Wii, and they took out the option to choose your gender, which is insane. I feel like it was only the boy in the Wii version. Why would they do that? That's so strange to me. And I've also heard there's other problems with that game. There's a lot of weird like motion control things that don't work well. I don't know the gist of it, but it's just so weird that they did that with that version of the game. This is another shoot 'em up for the GameCube, probably the only other one that I have. Ikaruga, our frothing demand for this game increases, from IGN. What a quote to put on the front of your box. It's so insane. This is another shoot 'em up that I haven't beaten because I'm just bad at shoot 'em ups, but I think it's awesome. This is one that is made by Treasure. As you can see here, Treasure just doesn't miss. This is interesting because you get to kind of change your polarity, I guess is what you would call it. And it kind of goes against the conventions of shoot 'em ups because you can actually absorb the bullets that are coming at you if you are the same color. But if you shoot the enemy with a different color bullet when you switch up your polarity, it'll do more damage. So it's kind of like a give and take there, risk reward type system. So it makes it really fun, really interesting to play, and yeah, it's just a great game. This is now on pretty much every system, modern system now. At the time it wasn't exclusive, but obviously now it's not. Here is The Incredibles: Rise of the Underminer. I don't have much to say about this one. This is a game that I actually recently got at a garage sale for like $2 or something like that. So I don't have much to say about it. I do like The Incredibles, and I think these like old licensed movie-based games have their charm, and most of them were not actually that bad. They were usually very decent, like 6 out of 10 type games. So this one could be okay. I haven't played it though, so don't have much to say about it. Here is a interesting one. This is Killer 7. This is one of the Capcom 5, where Capcom was originally going to release 5 games for the GameCube exclusively. And then that deal sort of kind of went away over time. Obviously, this doesn't have the only for GameCube logo up there. This came out for the PS2 as well. But this is a game developed by Suda51. Really, really strange, but really, really cool. You kind of move your character on rails, which is interesting. You move them forward by pressing the A button, or back. You can turn around with the B button, stuff like that. But it's really like a really cool control scheme that I was actually going to make a video on this, specifically talking about the control scheme. I didn't end up doing it, but super strange game, crazy characters. I love it for that reason, and like the controls are one of those reasons I love it. It's just super strange. I really would recommend giving this a shot if you can. I have the GameCube version here, but obviously, like I said, it's on the PS2, and I don't know if they re-released it anywhere else, but yeah. Here's Kirby Air Ride. This is another game I got at a garage sale, not recently, but back in the day for like $2, which is awesome. I love finding deals like that. But this might sound blasphemous to a lot of you, but I don't really like Kirby Air Ride that much. I think the racing itself is not very fun, and even the city trial mode, which is what everyone talks about, I don't really get it. Maybe I wasn't with the right group of people. I don't know. But this game just didn't do it for me. I know a ton of people love it, though. Nothing wrong with that. It is an interesting game, but it's not one for me, I think. Here we have The Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition promotional disc. So this is one, I think you got this as a pre-order bonus for pre-ordering the Wind Waker. And this is an awesome pre-order bonus because it came with The Legend of Zelda, Zelda 2, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask, as well as a demo for Wind Waker. So, you know, as a little package here, back before Nintendo had like the virtual console or anything, this was awesome to get. And I loved it for that reason. This was the first way I ever played those NES games, to be honest. And it was also the first way I ever owned Majora's Mask or Ocarina of Time. Because like I mentioned earlier, I didn't have an N64 until super late, and I never ended up picking up these Zelda games for the system. So, you know, this was great. I loved having this, and I actually picked this up used at a GameStop at some point. I never pre-ordered Wind Waker, so yeah, great to have this. Awesome to have in the collection. Another Zelda game here. This is Zelda 4 Swords Adventures. So this originally came in a big box with the link cable, the Game Boy Advance link cable. I don't have that big box, but it is nice to have the game itself. Unfortunately, I have never played 4 Swords Adventures either, because I never had like a group of friends to connect Game Boy Advances to the GameCube and play together that way. Would love to play this version of the game, but I do know that now, obviously, 4 Swords is on the Nintendo Switch Online service for the GBA, so hopefully I can play that one with some friends online at some point. And then maybe they can remake this one or bring it out again at some point. That'd be awesome. Would love to try this game, how it was originally intended. Maybe one day. And then there is The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, the big Zelda game on the system, and one of my favorite Zelda games of all time. I would say top 3 at least. I adore this game. This was one of the first games I remember really anticipating, like being hyped for. This came out probably around the time I was like 11 or 12 years old, I think. I think it was like 2002 or 2003 when this game came out. So yeah, I would have been 11 at that time. So it really stuck with me. The art style I found amazing. I know it was super controversial at the time because it wasn't realistic. And again, it played into that kind of notion that Nintendo was more for kids. But it worked for me, man. Like, the art style was so good. And obviously nowadays, everybody agrees that the art style in Wind Waker is amazing. And you could even say the GameCube version looks better than the Wii U HD edition, because that version kind of changes things up in a way that it loses its cartoony look. So it's still really nice to go back to this version. I know people complain about the sailing, the lack of dungeons, but honestly, I don't care about that. There's such a great vibe in the Wind Waker. So good. Great story. An amazing version of Ganondorf in this game. I love it so much. Incredible game. One of my favorite Zelda games. One of my favorite games of all time. I love the Wind Waker. Here's a couple games I haven't played also. This is Lost Kingdoms and Lost Kingdoms 2. These are games made by From Software, who you guys may know now as the developers of the Dark Souls series, Elden Ring, all those Souls-like games that people adore these days. This is another card-based RPG, interestingly enough, similar to Baten Kaitos. So it's weird that there were so many of these on the GameCube, but like I said, I haven't played these. I really would like to try them one of these days, and I definitely will. I'll go back to try these games out at some point. Luigi's Mansion. This is the quintessential launch title for the GameCube. It's just an amazing game. I know people were upset back in the day that this wasn't a Mario game. We weren't getting a Mario game at launch because we got Super Mario 64 on the N64, and then before that we had Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo. Where's our Mario game? This was our Mario game, and honestly, it's amazing. Luigi's Mansion is a game I like to go back to almost every year, especially during like the October spooky season and things like that, because it's just so much fun. The atmosphere in this game is unmatched. Even like Luigi's Mansion 3, they haven't matched the atmosphere of Luigi's Mansion 1. Something about this game, just being in a singular mansion, going through different rooms, the ghosts in this game, I don't know, something about it just works. And even today, I feel like the graphics look incredible. And especially for a launch title, it was amazing. Like, this blew my mind when it came out. I was honestly one of those people that were concerned about Luigi's Mansion. I was like, what is this weird game, Ghostbustery game? But so glad I was wrong, so glad I was proven wrong, because Luigi's Mansion, one of the best games on the GameCube, so good. Also nice and short too. I feel like people don't appreciate shorter games. At least they didn't back in the day, but I feel like they should have, because this is nice. This is nice to go back to. Nice 6-7 hour game. Here we got Mario Golf Toadstool Tour. This is a great Mario Golf game. I think people hold it in higher regard than it really deserves. It doesn't have that many courses. They aren't like super unique or weird courses either. I feel like a lot of people talk about how this game has incredible courses. They're fine. They're nothing like special though. I think they're a lot of like just regular ass courses. I don't know what else to say. But like I said, it's a good Mario Golf game. Don't get me wrong. It's not bad at all. I like playing it. Not my favorite though. I think World Tour on the 3DS is my favorite Mario Golf game. And then I really enjoy the handheld ones on the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance. But this is good. This is up there. Definitely a fun Mario Golf game. Worth owning on the GameCube. Mario Kart Double Dash. Here we're going through the Mario games now. This was a really, really fun game. I loved it at the time. The two-player mechanic and having like unique items depending on the character combinations you picked was a cool idea. I don't love the way this game controls nowadays. I feel like they've really refined it, and the biggest thing I think is the drift, where you just kind of like slide instead of jump and drift, if you know what I mean. I haven't gone back to this game in a while, and I still think it's probably pretty damn fun to play, but there are things that just kind of like rub me the wrong way a little bit nowadays. Still really love the game. The battle mode was really fun, and I put so much time into it. Yeah, great courses, stuff that, you know, like I would love to see come back in future Mario Kart games too. I would love to see them explore that two-player mechanic again someday, but yeah, Mario Kart Double Dash, cool game. And then we've got the big list of Mario Party games. We got Mario Party 4 here. Really love this one. This is either my favorite or second favorite Mario Party on the GameCube. Love the mini games in this one. I think the mini games are my favorite in this Mario Party, but overall, I think Mario Party 6 might be my favorite. Lots of great boards in this one. Good stuff. Got Mario Party 5. I think they introduced like the item capsules in this one. Is that what it was? Or was that Mario Party? I don't remember. I think there was something in this game where you could like throw items on the pieces or the spaces on the board that wasn't in the older games. But yeah, this was fun too. Mario Party 5 was all right. We got Mario Party 6. Like I said, this might be my favorite. Crazy story about Mario Party 6 actually, and it kind of goes along with Mario Party 4. But this was actually the first Mario Party I got on the GameCube. and I was at this like family get-together thing. Somebody brought his copy of Mario Party 4, and he actually switched out his copy of Mario Party 4 with my copy of Mario Party 6 because I guess he thought it was newer and cooler or whatever. So he just took that version, and I was so mad. I was so mad. He also stole my copy of Pokemon Trading Card Game on the Game Boy, but you know, we're not talking about Game Boy games here. We're talking about Mario Party. But yeah, eventually I was able to get Mario Party 6 back and whatever, but I still think about that moment. I still think about that guy. Not fun. But anyway, Mario Party 6, really fun game. This introduced the microphone for the GameCube, and it had the microphone mini games. Those weren't the best, but they were fun little additions to Mario Party. And this game just has fantastic boards. I love the boards in this game. And then finally, Mario Party 7. It still used the microphone for some mini games. This is the one I played the least though in terms of the GameCube Mario Parties, so I don't have a lot to say about it. I remember having fun, but I just don't remember as much about this one as I do with the other ones. But all the Mario Party games on the GameCube were pretty good. They all had the basic formula of Mario Party, and you can't go wrong with any of them, I think. Another Mario game here, Mario Power Tennis. This is a great Mario Tennis game. I don't know if it's my favorite, because I really like the RPG modes in the Game Boy version, but it is a great Mario Tennis game, and you can't go wrong with it. It had some really, really cool modes and different tennis courts and things like that. I also really love the power shots for each character. They really add kind of a unique touch and sense of strategy to the game. But yeah, like Mario Tennis games, I feel like they haven't reached this level on consoles since Mario Power Tennis. Like obviously Ultra Smash was bad, and Mario Tennis on the Switch was pretty good, but I feel like it's still not as good as Mario Power Tennis here. And continuing with the Mario sports games, we got Mario Superstar Baseball. Man, I wish they would bring back the Mario Baseball series. I don't know why they don't, because Japan loves baseball, America loves baseball, and those are two of the biggest markets for Nintendo. So I don't really understand. But either way, we still have this Mario Baseball game as well as Mario Super Sluggers on the Wii. Both games are fantastic. Both games are so much fun. I love these Mario Baseball games, and they have a ton of strategy too. Like you have to pick all your characters and switch your pitcher out whenever he gets tired, things like that. Like I feel like it's got more depth than a lot of other Mario sports games. So really, really enjoy Mario Baseball. Wish they would bring it back. This is a great one. Okay, we're done with the Mario games for the time being. This one is Mega Man X Collection. So this is just a little compilation of Mega Man X games, 7 games in one. Not much to say about it. You know, the Mega Man X games are cool until you start getting to the later ones. But, you know, the earlier ones are pretty fun games. And this is a great little collection to have if you don't have the original copies of the Mega Man X games. Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes. This was a very interesting release because it was a remake of the original Metal Gear Solid for the GameCube. And this was the first time Metal Gear Solid was on a Nintendo platform. So a lot of people would say this is not the definitive version of the game because I think they changed the voice acting around. Maybe they weren't fans of some of the gameplay tweaks, but I honestly could not speak to that because I haven't beaten this game. I haven't played it too much, and I haven't really played too many Metal Gear games in general. I need to change that. I know I need to change that. But I think it's a cool upgrade. Either way, it's a different way to play the original Metal Gear Solid, which I think fans of the series probably enjoy because you have two very different games. So I would just kind of like take it that way and appreciate this for what it is, I guess. But cool to have this on the GameCube, and really glad to have this. Another game that I got at GameStop for like $20 or whatever, like back when they were getting rid of their stuff. So I made some good purchases back then. And here we are at my favorite video game of all time in Metroid Prime. Oh man, I wanted this game so bad. I remember watching reviews, just absolutely obsessed with getting this game, but I couldn't because my parents were very strict at the time in what games I could get. And this was rated teen, and I was not 13 years old then, so they wouldn't allow me to get this game. But I found a way. You know, we all find our ways, so I ended up picking it up at a GameStop with my own money at some point because they weren't asking me if I was a teenager for this game, at least at that GameStop. I have another story for a different game to talk about later, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about Metroid Prime, just one of the greatest games of all time, my favorite game of all time, like I said. And, you know, everyone talks about Super Mario 64 being this incredible transition into 3D from 2D. I think Metroid Prime does it even better. Obviously, it had a lot more time to kind of like, they weren't developing this for the N64 or anything, but they had a lot more time to kind of get used to 3D. So, you know, that's maybe in the favor of Mario 64. That game was like the first game Nintendo developed for 3D, in 3D. So that's really impressive. But Metroid Prime, just the way they transitioned a Metroidvania style game into 3D is remarkable. The atmosphere is incredible. The music is amazing. The graphics were insane at the time. And somehow they made it even better with the Switch re-release, the remaster version. Like, that game is also just stunning. So there's not much else I can say about Metroid Prime other than it is incredible. I feel like everyone should play this game. The first person mode, I was scared because I thought that would take away something from Metroid, but nope, it just adds to the immersion. I love this game so much. I love Metroid Prime 2 Echoes as well. This game, you know, some people say this is better than the first one. I don't agree with that personally. I don't think it's better, but it is still an amazing game. And it came out just a couple years after the original Metroid Prime, which is amazing. So this game changes things up a bit. It has a dark world. You have ammo for like some of your weapons, which is kind of a weird thing that they did. I don't know how much I love that aspect of it, but it had everything else that Metroid Prime had. The atmosphere, the music, like, just still an incredible game. Love this one as well. This is just a garage sale pickup I got for another like $2. Midway Arcade Treasures. Cool to have another collection of like arcade games on the GameCube, but I don't have much else to say about it other than that. Here is Naruto Clash of Ninja and Naruto Clash of Ninja 2. These games were like, again, weirdly like, I feel like they were at demo kiosks everywhere in like Targets and Walmarts and things like that. So they were pushing this game pretty hard back in the day. And Naruto was obviously getting really big back then. It was honestly maybe the first anime I ever watched other than like Pokemon or whatever. But yeah, these were pretty cool little fighting games. I don't have too much to say about them. I just remember playing the demos a lot in Targets. But yeah, they were cool fighting games. I feel like so many anime games go for the fighting game thing. But back then it wasn't as overdone, I feel like. Next up we got NBA Street Volume 2. What an amazing sports game. Like, obviously, I don't play a ton of sports games. Back in this time, I did actually play a lot more sports games like Madden, like simulation style games. But I still always gravitated towards arcade style games like this. NBA Street Volume 2 is honestly one of the best sports games ever made. Incredible soundtrack, by the way. But just the gameplay and everything was so much fun. This point in time where EA Big existed and was making all these cool arcade style sports games, I loved it. Michael Jordan was in the game too. That was really cool. That was not common to see because he always, obviously, if he was going to be in something, you had to pay the big bucks. So really, really awesome game. And I also have NBA Street Volume 3. So the GameCube version of this, as well as another sports game we'll talk about later, they're really interesting because they have Mario, Luigi, and Peach in them. And it is so strange to see them playing against players like LeBron James and like Yao Ming and Allen Iverson and stuff like that. It's just, I don't know, it's super weird, but it makes these versions of the games like worth owning over the PS2 and the Xbox versions. I think this is like a really smart thing Nintendo did. Very unlikely, like I feel like I wouldn't expect them to do it, but I love that they did, and I'm glad that they did because it's so weird, so cool, and this is another great game. NBA Street Volume 3 is very good too. I wish they would have done it with NFL Street as well, put in Mario and Luigi and Peach in there, but I kind of get why they wouldn't, because you'd have them like tackling everybody and whatever. But yeah, NFL Street, these games were fun too. They were not as good as NBA Street in my opinion. They also had like FIFA Street or whatever. I don't have those games, but I think NBA Street was definitely the best street game, if you want to call it that. But these NFL Street games weren't bad either. Here's Nickelodeon Party Blast. This is a terrible party game, and I remember thinking that even as a kid who loved Nickelodeon shows and loved SpongeBob and loved Rugrats and everything like that, I could tell this game was not good. I do remember how I got this game though, and that was I had a neighbor. We would play basketball a bunch, and we would like make bets, honestly, like who, if I won, I would get one of his games or whatever. Like he was making the bets, by the way. I wasn't doing this, but I was just like, I went with it because I was confident in my skills or whatever as an 11 or 12-year-old. And yeah, I would end up beating him, and I got this game from him. Do I feel bad? No, because I think I took away like trash from him. So yeah. Oh, Dama, what a strange game. I think this was released very late in the life cycle of the game. Yeah, 2006. Such a strange game. So this is a pinball game, but also a strategy game. It uses the GameCube microphone, and you have to like tell your soldiers to like advance or pull back or whatever. And it's just really weird, like a weird combo of genres with pinball and the strategy aspect. It was developed by or directed by Yut Saito, I think, who did the Seaman games. So if you know the Seaman games, those are really weird too. So yeah, like really strange. These are the type of games I love though, and I'm really happy to have it. Really glad that Nintendo brought it out in America. This is something I could see them absolutely not localizing, but I'm glad they did. Here is PN03, product number 3. This was also part of that Capcom 5 I was talking about earlier, and this is, I think, the only game in that kind of like promotion that has stayed exclusive to GameCube and is still exclusive to GameCube, even to this day. I don't think this has been re-released anywhere else. I haven't played this game too much, so I don't have too much to say about it, but I do remember it being kind of like not as well received as the other Capcom games that came out on the GameCube. So that might be why they didn't bring it out on any other system. Would like to go back and try it out just to see how it is, but I don't have too much to say about it right now. And we got Pac-Man Versus and Pac-Man World 2. So Pac-Man Versus was a big deal for Nintendo. This is another one of those games. Miyamoto actually helped work on this game. Yeah, it says right there, designed by Shigeru Miyamoto. And I remember him getting out on stage for E3 and talking about it, and I think they demoed the game. This is another one of those things where they really wanted to push that Game Boy Advance link cable compatibility, and it was kind of the first foray into that asymmetric gameplay that Nintendo really went for with the Wii U. Pac-Man Versus was really cool though. Like, it was a super fun take on Pac-Man, and it's cool that they actually brought it out on modern systems now in a different Pac-Man collection. I think it's like Pac-Man Arcade something. I don't remember what it's called, but it's cool that they brought it out. And this was actually the only way you could get it in this combo pack, Pac-Man Versus and Pac-Man World 2. Actually, it did come with a different racing game. Forgot what the racing game was called. But it was another Namco racing game. You could get Pac-Man Versus in that. But other than that, it was only in this player's choice version. Oh yes, Paper Mario, the 1,000-Year Door. Obviously, we have just gotten a re-release of this game, remastered, remade, whatever you want to call it. That version is incredible. I think the remake on the Switch is amazing. I played through the whole thing, but this is obviously where it all started, and it is so nice to have this version of the game still. There are a lot of differences within the text and things like that. And even though you can put the like the GameCube badge on or whatever to play the old music, I really didn't do that too much. And going back to this version, there are tracks in this game that I think are better than the new tracks in the Switch version. So there's still some merit to this one, and I'm really happy to have it. 1,000-Year Door is an amazing game. Just an incredible game. I hope they go back to this kind of style of Paper Mario game where you have your partners and whatever. And this is coming from someone that really likes like Origami King and stuff like that. So it's not like I dislike some of the newer games, but just going back to this one really shows how much personality these older Paper Mario games have. So I really hope Nintendo goes back and sees how this Switch version sells and kind of, you know, goes from there, makes a new Paper Mario that has the same charm as this one. This is Phantasy Star Online Episode 1 and 2. So nobody thinks about online on the GameCube, but it did have like this broadband adapter that you could use to go online. I never played this game, but this was one of the big releases that used the modem and the broadband adapter for the GameCube. I know people love Phantasy Star, and there was actually a different version of this as well that really improved the single player aspect, I think. I think it's like Episode 1 and 2 Plus or something like that. I don't have that one, but I do have this version. And, you know, I'd love to give it a shot at some point. I don't think people are playing it, but I think you can play, like it says, split screen here as well, so. And then there was also Phantasy Star Online Episode 3, Card Revolution, which is really weird. They turned Phantasy Star into a card-based game? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know a lot about this game at all. I don't know if it's well received or people like it. My copy is actually still sealed. I don't know if you can see that. But yeah, this is still sealed. This is the only GameCube game I have sealed. And it might stay that way for a while because, yeah, I've never played any of the Phantasy Star games. Again, another huge franchise on the GameCube. Pikmin, just a brand new IP. Miyamoto directed this game. It was his kind of passion project in a way. And they were really pushing Pikmin back when the GameCube was first being shown off, like during E3 and things like that. Pikmin was a big part of their advertising campaign and their push for the GameCube. And like we obviously saw why. This game is so charming, and it takes real-time strategy in a different direction. Like when I heard this game was a real-time strategy game, it put me off because I hate like real-time strategy. I shouldn't say I hate, but real-time strategy is definitely one of those genres that I can never get into. Like games like Age of Empires and Warcraft 3 and like StarCraft, things like that. I just cannot get into that gameplay. But when you change it up and give the player control of a character and make things a little more action focused while still having that kind of like real-time strategy sort of gameplay with the Pikmin, it just works. It just works, and Pikmin is so charming, so much fun. I'm glad this game, as well as Pikmin 2, have gotten a re-release on the Switch. So cool to see. Pikmin 2, I actually have not played too much of, but I know it is kind of like considered almost, how would I say it? It's almost like overly difficult in an unfair way in some of the cave segments. So I really would like to go back and try it out and see for myself. But yeah, Pikmin and Pikmin 2, kind of again, I said this for something else, I forgot, but these are quintessential GameCube games though. When I think of Pikmin, I think of the GameCube as well. Next we got Pokemon Colosseum. I actually haven't played this either too much. Pokemon Colosseum and Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, which I don't have. These games were like really interesting because I feel like they tried to go in a bigger RPG direction. Like it wasn't just Pokemon Stadium or Pokemon like Battle Revolution on the Wii. They were really trying to kind of make a more story-focused Pokemon game for a console, which they hadn't done before. And yeah, I don't remember how well received these were in terms of like the Pokemon community, but I'll have to give it a shot at some point and try it out. Here's Rayman 3 Hoodlum Havoc. This is another one that I haven't played, but I don't actually know how this one was received either, because Rayman 2 is obviously considered one of the best 3D platformers ever made, and I don't know how good Rayman 3 was as a follow-up to that. I know Rayman kind of went a little bit downhill after Rayman 2, but I feel like people still think Rayman 3 is pretty good, so I'll have to give this one a try at some point and play it, you know? Here is Resident Evil. This was a huge release for the GameCube. The remake of one of the most influential games of all time, with at least in terms of survival horror goes. Resident Evil on the GameCube was incredible. Just insane how good it looked. Again, this is another game that has beautiful pre-rendered backgrounds, similar to Button Kaitos that I was talking about earlier. They need to do that again. They need to bring back pre-rendered backgrounds, I swear. But yeah, just an amazing remake of an amazing game. This is honestly one of the most atmospheric games I've ever played too. Just like the lighting up the mansion when you're walking around. It's so good. Resident Evil on the GameCube, and obviously now they've re-released it everywhere, is a must play. You have to play this version of Resident Evil. It is so good. And then we also got Resident Evil 0 on the GameCube. This and the remake were exclusives on the GameCube for a long time until they re-released them elsewhere. I think the Wii got them first and then other places got them. But yeah, I know this one's not as well received as some of the other Resident Evil games, but it still has beautiful art, great pre-rendered backgrounds, things like that, like I was talking about. And, you know, it is classic Resident Evil. It's still a good game in my opinion, so I would definitely play this. I would try it out. Again, this has been released on pretty much everything now, so. And then the big one. It is Resident Evil 4. This was also part of that Capcom 5, I believe. We know the story of Resident Evil 4, though. This did not stay on the GameCube. It was timed exclusive, and they have the only for GameCube banner there. But we know this moved on to the PS2 and things like that. Oh, Resident Evil 4. What an incredible game. I didn't actually play Resident Evil 4 until the Wii version. So this one I actually picked up later. But it's so good. It is one of the best games of all time, and there's a reason that this game has been ported so much. The Resident Evil 4 remake is also fantastic. I don't know what I can say about it that hasn't already been said. I know that's a cliche thing to say, but yeah, like, it's just a fantastic survival horror game. I know people say this kind of took Resident Evil in a direction that they didn't like, but I think they really jumped the shark with 5 and 6, whereas Resident Evil 4 was still really, really great, I think, and it had more of a survival horror feel to it. There were also other Resident Evil games on the GameCube that I don't have, like 2, 3, and Code Veronica. I would like to get those at some point, but those are more just like ports rather than remakes or anything like that, like Resident Evil Remake was. So this is Road Trip, the arcade edition. I think this is just like a Koro Q game or Choro Q game, whatever you want to call it. Very like small, cartoony cars. I haven't played this one, so I don't have too much to say about it, but it's just funny to see like how crazy this cover art is. It is so busy. So much going on in this cover art. Shrek Super Slam. Again, I don't have much to say about this one. This is like sort of a Smash Brothers type of game. It is not very great, though. I will tell you that. Not much to say about it other than that. Oh, here's the game that I'm ashamed I haven't played. This is Skies of Arcadia Legends. This was a remake of a Dreamcast game. This, I believe, is considered the definitive version. I think it has like better music or something. I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure people consider this the definitive version of Skies of Arcadia. And it's considered one of the best RPGs of all time. I really, really need to play this. Don't know a ton about it, but man, I've heard amazing things. I need to go back and play this one for sure. Here is Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. Now this is a super nostalgic game for me. I honestly am kind of a Sonic hater. Like I dislike most Sonic games that I play, but this is one that I really, really did enjoy, especially when I was younger. Just something about it. I don't know what it was at the time. I really, really latched onto this game, and it is, like I said, it's very nostalgic. It's got great music, and that's the thing about Sonic that I can't fault is the music in the games are always fantastic, and that's no different here. Love the Knuckles soundtracks for his stages, but I would honestly, like, if I went back to this game, I would tell you like two-thirds of this game is honestly mediocre. Which are the Knuckles and Rouge stages, as well as the Tails and Eggman stages. Like, they're not great, but it still has charm. It still has like the Chow Garden, which is awesome. I do still enjoy Sonic Adventure 2, and I'm glad I have this one. This was one of the first games I got for the GameCube, so maybe that's part of it as well. Yeah, I like this game. It's weird, it's wacky, but Soul Calibur 2. This was really, really cool because each version of Soul Calibur for the different consoles had their own character. And obviously the GameCube one, I think it sold the best, and that was because of Link being on the cover. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe like the PS2 version sold the best because obviously the PS2 had so many console sales. But yeah, I feel like everyone I knew had the GameCube version because of Link. PS2 had Heihachi from Tekken, I think, and Xbox had Spawn, which is weird. That was a weird inclusion. I don't think of Spawn when I think of Xbox, but anyway, this is a really cool fighting game, and the inclusion of Link made it all the better. Really fun. Great cover. I like the green on this one as well. Like PS2 was blue, Xbox was red. Yeah. Soul Calibur 2, really cool. Next up, we got Space Raiders. I don't know much about this game. I know this is considered bad, but that's kind of why I bought it. I feel like I can appreciate bad games, and this seemed like one of those games where it may be so bad it's good, but I don't know. I'll have to play it and find out because it seems pretty jank and pretty weird. But just seeing these characters, Najee, Ashley, and Justin, I'm like, they must say some really, really weird things in the game. So here is another one of those sports games I was talking about. This is SSX on Tour. I love the SSX series, and I actually played most of those on the PS2. I played the original Tricky and SSX 3 on the PS2, but I had to get the GameCube version of On Tour because, once again, Mario, Luigi, and Peach were in this game, and again, it is just so strange to see Mario shredding on a snowboard or with skis, because this game actually had skis, which may have been the first one in the SSX series to have skis. Really strange once again, but I love it because of it, and it was still a fun SSX game. It may not have been as good as 3 or Tricky, but still really fun. The GameCube also had 2 Star Fox games, the first one being Star Fox Adventures here. So obviously this is well known now. Star Fox Adventures began its life as Dinosaur Planet on the N64. There's actually a version of that online that you can play that's still Dinosaur Planet. And then they transitioned into Star Fox on the GameCube, which I think it makes sense. I feel like it made sense with the type of characters they were using for Dinosaur Planet. But this is actually the other game I was talking about with the teen rating that I had a story about. So back in the day, my mom said I could pick up a game at Toys R Us, and I was at a Toys R Us, grabbed this one because I knew I wanted it, took it up to the counter. I was like 12 at the time, and the guy at the counter asked how old I was, and being the very kind and honest young man that I was, I said I was 12. I told him my real age, and he said, I'm sorry, I can't sell this game to you. You're not old enough." So I went back to my mom, asked my mom if I could buy Star Fox Adventures because it was rated teen, and she was like, "Nope, can't do it. You're not old enough." And I was so freaking mad at that cashier because he was like, dude, who's gonna do that? Who's gonna stop a 12-year-old from buying a game that's rated teen? Especially a game that looks like this, right? Anyway, Star Fox Adventures, I actually really like this game. I know it's not like a real Star Fox game. It's more, it plays a lot like a Zelda game, but it's not bad. It's not a bad game at all. It's got some weird aspects to it. The voice acting is strange, but I actually really do like that they created their own language for this, even though they end up saying things like Krazoa Palace or whatever in like the most like weird like just a regular accent for that stuff. But either way, I like Star Fox Adventures. I think it's like a fun action adventure game. Just because it's not the old Star Fox doesn't mean it's bad. And then we also had Star Fox Assault. I actually like this one less than Star Fox Adventures. I know a ton of people really liked the multiplayer mode in this game, but there was just a lot of weird... I didn't like the way the game controls, especially when you're on foot. The on-foot sections are really what kind of turned me off of this game. The flying and stuff, still really fun, really good, but this one didn't do it for me as much. It's still solid, I still like it, but I didn't like it as much as Adventures in terms of Star Fox GameCube games. This one was developed in partnership with Namco, as you can see here. So maybe that has something to do with it a little bit. I don't know. Still a cool game. Still glad we got it. You're never going to see two Star Fox games on the same console again, I don't think, from Nintendo. Unless you count Star Fox Guard, obviously, but I'm not counting that one. And we also have two Star Wars games here. This is Star Wars Rogue Leader Rogue Squadron 2, Star Wars Rebel Strike Rogue Squadron 3. The big thing about Rogue Squadron 2 was that this was a launch title, and it was developed by Factor 5, who was, just a great developer back then. It's unfortunate what happened to them. This game looked incredible, still looks incredible to this day, but this showed off really what the GameCube could do. Flying around was incredible. These are some of the best Star Wars games. I'm not even like a Star Wars fan, but these are definitely some of the best Star Wars games that have ever been made. Really cool stuff. Really showed off what the GameCube can do, and still does show off what the GameCube can do. I think these are also 60 FPS, which is crazy. Getting back to some Mario here with Super Mario Strikers. This is the first Strikers game that came out, and Mario really did soccer well. I love the art style on this cover. And Mario Strikers has always had this, I guess, striking art style when you go back and look at all their games. It's very looks like hand-drawn, sort of penciled look, and I love it. And the gameplay is just so fun. This is a lot more of a simplistic style Mario soccer game versus like Charged or whatever. Mario Strikers Charged may be my preferred Mario Strikers game, but I still really love this one. And that simplicity does, it helped. It just makes it a different game. So I think both of them have their own unique qualities, and I like going back to both of them. And the big Mario game on the system here is Super Mario Sunshine. It has this like text in the background that I feel like nobody ever talks about. Has more moves than ever before, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, it's so weird that that's there. So unnecessary. But yeah, Super Mario Sunshine. What can I say about it? This game, while it's not my favorite 3D Mario game, I think it has the best kind of theme, like overall theme and vibe going for it. It's so consistent in its theme. It has that tropical island feel throughout the game in every stage. And I love that about it. I love the variety in other Mario games as well, but I just love how thematic this Mario game is. I enjoy Flood. I think it adds a different layer to Mario, and I enjoy a lot of what this game does, but there are things that I definitely don't like about it. Like I think it reuses bosses quite often, and some of the stars or shines in the game are not the best. But yeah, I think it's overall a really, really solid Mario game, and I love it. I love it for that reason. Yeah, just super cool. Isle Delfino's amazing. Great music. Mario Sunshine's great. Next up, we got some of my favorite GameCube games here in Super Monkey Ball and Super Monkey Ball 2. These were like two games that I played all the time with friends. Everyone talks about the mini games in Monkey Ball, but the main game is where I really, really enjoyed it. Like I loved going around those stages and trying to get around to the goal because they got really difficult, and I thought that was really fun. Obviously, I did play the mini games as well, and Monkey Target was just the absolute best, and I cannot believe they just don't bring back Monkey Target. Monkey Target was in in the first two games, right? Was it in Monkey Ball 2? Oh, yeah, there we go. Target. It is there. So yeah, Monkey Target was in 1 and 2, but they like basically haven't brought it back since then, which is insane to me. It's the one everyone wants, and it's the one everyone enjoys, but they just won't bring it back. But yeah, like I said though, the main game is also amazing. Crazy stories as well in these games, just so weird. But I love them. Love these games. Monkey Ball 1 and 2, so good. And then we have 2 copies of Melee. I don't know why I have 2. I think, oh yeah, I got one at a garage sale for like $2. So yeah, I have 2 copies of Melee. You can't have too many. This is also a not for resale copy. I don't know what bundle this came in to be not for resale, but yeah. Anyway, Smash Brothers Melee. We all know how great this game was. It was such a big upgrade compared to the N64 game. And this was basically a launch title. Like it came out a few months after the launch of the GameCube, but this was the big game that really got people excited for the GameCube. I mean, like, this is one of the top selling games on the system along with Mario Kart, and for good reason. It was an amazing party game, an amazing Smash Brothers game, and there's a reason people still play it to this day. Just lots of fun. Here's Swingers Golf. This is another exclusive, which is probably one of the reasons I bought it, but I also bought it because I love this Fresh Games line of stuff from that Eidos did. Fresh Games, they brought out stuff like Mr. Mosquito in the States and like Legaia 2 and like some weird Japanese stuff that like normally wouldn't come out. This is more of just like a basic golf game. Like there's nothing bad about it, but it's got a really weird art style. Like, look at this lady. I mean, strange art style here, but I feel like the game itself, the character models are a little bit better. Some wacky characters, wacky golf fun. Not a bad golf game on the GameCube. I think if you're gonna pick one though, Mario Golf is definitely the one you want to go for. Here's Tales of Symphonia. I know this was a very big game for the GameCube as well. The GameCube really didn't have too many RPGs at all. I know I showed Evolution Worlds and there was Paper Mario, but this was one of those RPGs like that really helped the GameCube out with a solid RPG. This was an action RPG, and it was You could play a multiplayer as well. I know some of my friends did that. 2 to 4 players, it says here. And yeah, I know Tales of Symphonia is a really highly regarded game. I haven't played it. I've played some of it, not all the way through, but it's been a long time since I even tried it. But I know this is really well regarded, and they've brought it out on more modern systems as well, so it's easier to play now. This GameCube version, though, probably still good to go back to. Here we got Time Splitters 2. I love the Time Splitters series. Really, really great first-person shooter, and as the name suggests, this is a game where you go through time into different eras, into different regions, and these are also games that don't take themselves seriously, which is great. I love that they have this really just kind of like wacky side to it. They were developed by Free Radical, which was a team that was composed of people that made the original GoldenEye on the N64 and Perfect Dark, and that shows as well in the way the game plays. Like, it feels like one of those N64 games, but you know, modernized a little bit. But yeah, multiplayer was really fun. Single player was really fun. Time Splitters 2 is great, and the other Time Splitters games are also very good. Getting close to the end here, but next up we got Ty the Tasmanian Tiger. I actually haven't played this one too much, so I don't have much to say about it, but I know people do like these Ty games, and again, these have been re-released on modern consoles, so you can go and play, you know, like Ty 1, 2, and 3 on modern consoles, so yep. Here we got another one of the Capcom 5 and Beautiful Joe. I love this game so much. It's got so much style, so much character. The music is great. Love Beautiful Joe so much. This is like a passion project for Hideki Kamiya and the team over there at Capcom. I know he loves like the Sentai style stuff, which is also why he did Wonderful 101. Those, again, another one of my favorite games, but really difficult game Beautiful Joe was. At least I thought so at the time, but still really, really fun. And they did also make a sequel in Beautiful Joe 2. This one obviously doesn't have that only for GameCube little emblem there at the top because they ended up coming out for PS2, but I always think of Beautiful Joe as a GameCube franchise because it started out there. Yeah, I haven't played Beautiful Joe 2, to be honest. I really need to because I love the series, but just haven't had the time. And I didn't actually know that this one had the Clover Studio symbol there. This one is just Capcom. Clover Studios I don't think was a thing when the first Beautiful Joe was made, but yeah, that's Beautiful Joe 1 and 2. And another Beautiful Joe game on the GameCube was Beautiful Joe Red Hot Rumble. And this was not a traditional Beautiful Joe game. This was more of like a battle, like Smash Brothers style game, I believe. So not the same style of game, but I had to get it because it was Beautiful Joe, and I actually really like the spine for this game. Very, very colorful. Yeah, Beautiful Joe, great series. Next is WarioWare Inc. Mega Party Games. I was a huge WarioWare fan. It was the first game I ever got for the Game Boy Advance, and I had to pick up the GameCube version as well, which is basically just the Game Boy Advance version, but I think it has a couple additions as well as some great multiplayer modes that made this worth owning. Just some really, really fun, unique multiplayer modes. But yeah, if you've played the Game Boy Advance version, you know what this is about, and it's a lot of fun. I love WarioWare Mega Party Games on the GameCube. Definitely worth owning. And there was one other Wario game on the GameCube. That's Wario World. This was developed by Treasure, the same people that did Ikaruga, which I showed off earlier. They're not on the back of the box. That is crazy. I thought they would have Treasure there somewhere. But yes, this was developed by Treasure. And it's more of like a weird like action beat 'em up style game. It's very, very strange. Something that again, you don't see Nintendo do nowadays with some of their characters. I really like this game. I think it's super unique, super weird. Got a lot of strange different like enemies and characters in there that I love. And Wario is just absolutely manic on the cover here. He is just drooling for that cash. So yeah, that's Wario World. Really cool game. I like it a lot. And finally, the last US game that I have, North American game, is Wave Race Blue Storm. So I've done a video on my main channel on the Wave Race franchise as a whole, and I talked about Wave Race Blue Storm, and I really like Wave Race Blue Storm. It's got incredible like water physics and just graphics in general. I feel like not many games have really hit the same in terms of the way the water physics work. It may have felt like a bit of a downgrade to some people compared to Wave Race 64, but I don't think that's the case. I think this is a little bit better than Wave Race 64. They're both really fun. They're both really good. Honestly, they're neck and neck for me, but they're also different games. They feel different. This one is a little heavier, while Wave Race 64 feels a little more arcadey, I would say. But either way, I love it. It was a great launch title as well for the GameCube. GameCube really honestly had a good launch. It had Wave Race, it had Super Monkey Ball, it had Luigi's Mansion. Really good stuff there. But yeah, this is a good game. And now I also have a few Japanese games I want to go over. And before I do that, I do also have the GameCube Game Boy Player disc, which I wanted to show this off, even though it's not a game per se, because you see the way this case is made? This is how the case came in America for the Game Boy Player. But this is also the case for every Japanese GameCube game, which is really cool. So, if we start here with the first Japanese GameCube game I have Dance Dance Revolution Mario Mix, or I guess it's called Dance Dance Revolution with Mario in Japan. The reason I have this, even though I have the English version, is because I have the big box bundle with the dance pad, the dance mat for this version of the game. But yeah, so these games came with a sleeve, cardboard sleeve, and then the actual game came in these plastic cases. I love these so much. They are so cute. Take up so much less space, which I appreciate. And they like I said, they look great. I unfortunately don't have the sleeve for the Game Boy Player disc. I know it did come with one, but I don't have it. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of explain that. But yeah, here's Dance Dance Revolution with Mario, the Japanese version. Just want to show that off. And I also have the Japanese version of Cubivore. This is Cubivore, called Dobutsu Bancho in Japan. So I bought this because I love Cubivore so much and I like the cover. So I had to pick up this version. I'm never really going to play this realistically, but I just wanted to have it for the collection. And then next we got Donkey Konga, Donkey Konga 2, and Donkey Konga 3, which we never got in the States. So these games, Donkey Konga 1, 2, and 3, these are actually worth owning the Japanese version for, even if you have Donkey Konga 1 and 2 for the GameCube in America, because they have different track lists. They have completely different track lists. It's like some stuff is the same, but not everything. And because of that, I wanted to pick these up, and it's totally worth owning all of this stuff. So love the Donkey Konga series, like I said, and it's nice to have all of these Japanese versions as well, to have some different songs. Here is Dragon Drive D Masters Shot, I think? D Masters Shot, yeah. I don't know much about this game. I guess it's probably based off of an anime, but I do know it was developed by Treasure, which is cool. Like I said, I haven't played this. I don't know much about it, but if it's Treasure, it's probably at least decent. Yeah, I had to pick it up because of that. And yeah, it's a Japanese exclusive, so that's Dragon Drive D Masters Shot. And here's one of my favorite games on the GameCube, and it's a Japanese exclusive. It is Gift Pia. If you have seen any of my videos on my main channel, I talk about this game in my Japanese exclusive GameCube game video. I love this to bits. Like I mentioned it earlier when I was talking about Chibi Robo. but this is like a very similar vibe to Chibi Robo. Just the characters are quirky, fun, crazy, amazing soundtrack, and it has a very similar gameplay loop to Chibi Robo as well. GIFP is a special game. It's tough to play because there's only a Japanese translation guide online. There's no like patch for the game itself. But I think if you can get past that, it is absolutely worth playing this game. It is, like I said, very special. So many incredible characters, so many incredible interactions and things that go on in this game. I can't say enough good things about it. I love GIFP so much. So much. Love this game. Here's another one I would love to try at some point, but I haven't yet. This is Homeland. And this is another one of those online games that you obviously wouldn't think of for the GameCube back in the day. This was primarily an online focused game. I think you could play a single player mode, but it was not the way to play this. I just wanted to pick it up because I love the art style. I love all these characters. Like, this is my type of style. I love quirky, interesting looking characters, and I love the way this game looked. There's no translation for it. I think there's some sort of guides online, but I'm not positive. I would love to try this game out at some point though, because I love the way it looks. Here's Kururin Squash, another game I talked about in my Japanese exclusive GameCube video, and again, this is another game that I love. It's like sort of like a maze puzzle game where you have to make your way through these mazes with this character who's in like a helicopter thing. Super unique, super weird. We never got any of the Kururin games in America, but I think one of them is on NSO now, so you can try the GBA one, which it'll give you a definite like idea of what these games are like. But I like this GameCube version a lot. I think this might be my favorite version. Here is Doshin the Giant. I actually talked about this game as well in a different video. I think that was my Forgotten Nintendo Games video on my main channel. But yeah, Doshin the Giant. The reason I have it here like alphabetically is because it's called Hyojin no Doshin on the side here, so I ended up putting it with the K's. Either way, I was kind of harsh on this game, I feel like, when I was talking about it in my video, because there's not like a lot to it, I feel like, but it's still really interesting. And the story behind Doshin the Giant is really cool because it was originally a game for the Nintendo 64 disk drive, the DD, which is an add-on for the Nintendo 64 that we never got in the States. And then they brought it out to the GameCube, only in Japan and Europe, unfortunately. America never got it. I ended up getting this Japanese version, and I still think the game is cool. It's like a God game in a way, I would say, where you can terraform the world and do crazy things like that. Really unique, really interesting. Definitely respect Doshin the Giant a lot. Even if I didn't love it when I played it. I did like it though. This is a weird one. This is Legend of Golfer. I just bought this one because it was published by Nintendo. I don't think it's like anything special. I don't think it's like a special golf game or anything like that, but maybe it's fun. Maybe it's fun. I haven't really put time into it, and I will give it a shot at some point because I like golf games a lot. Really, really do. So there's Legend of Golfer. Getting to the last couple here. This is Mutsuto no Hohon, I believe. If I read that Japanese correctly. Mutsuto no Hohon. I think that's right. And I don't think the side has English, so hopefully I got that right. Either way, this is like a little pet simulator game. It's very cute. Picked it up because of how cute these characters were. Just loved how it looked, and yeah, no, it's very cute. And I don't know if these Mutsu characters are like a thing in Japan or not. If somebody knows in the comments, let me know. But yeah, this is a cute little game. And last, but certainly not least, is Nintendo Puzzle Collection. And this game also came in a big box that came with the GBA link cable, which I have, thankfully. That's cool. But yeah, this is another game I talked about in my Japanese exclusive GameCube game video. And it's a really cool game. It has Dr. Mario 64 on it, which is just like a port of Dr. Mario 64. has Panel de Pon, which was a N64 version of Panel de Pon that they never released. So it's cool that they brought it out here. And then there's a version of Yoshi's Cookie that is only on this copy of the game. So 3 really cool little puzzle games. And the reason that it came with a GBA link cable is because you could connect a Game Boy Advance to the game and download like little Game Boy versions of all 3 games. So cool little implementation, and nothing like crazy like Zelda or Pac-Man Versus or anything like that, but a cool little implementation, and it's a very fun little puzzle game. So there you go. So that was my GameCube collection. I absolutely love this system. There are so many games on it that I love, like Metroid Prime, Wind Waker. Some of my favorite games of all time are on this system, and I really don't think it got the love it deserved back in the day. You know, Nintendo could have done things better, I think, but there were so many great things about the GameCube, and it's showing now how many people are like flocking to the system and trying to collect for it and everything. There's still probably games that I would like to get. I would like to get the other Resident Evil games on the system, maybe a couple others here and there, but overall I'm really happy with the collection I do have. And if you stuck it out to the end here, I really appreciate you guys watching. Really appreciate everyone sticking around, and I will see you guys in the next video.